Good morning, students. Yesterday we had studied about lesson number 1, and I hope you have read the chapter twice. This was the lesson that the selfish giant, which we have done earlier also in class 6. Who has attended the lecture in previous class? We had this chapter in class 6. So I hope you will be able to do the question answers, and now I'm going to explain you this book exercise. That is, first section A is complete these sentences in your own words. Like, you don't have to now read the chapter. I think you have read the chapter now. No, don't look at the chapter. You have to write in your own words. Don't use bookish language. That first is, when the giant saw the children playing in the garden, then what? Then he was angry, he was very happy. That you have to write. Second, as he sat at the window and looked out at his cold white garden, the giant wondered. What did he wonder? You have to write down. Third, the giant's heart melted because at last that his heart was melted. Why? What did he see so that his heart was melted? So that you have to write. Now section B, who said these words and why? Now these are some phrases, these are some sentences from your chapter, and you have to write down who said these words, these sentences, and to whom and why. But किसने किसको कहा and क्यों, that you have to write down. First is, my own garden is my own garden. Who was having the garden? That you have to write down. And to whom did he speak? He say that, so that you have to write down. And why? Second is, spring has forgotten this garden, so we will live here all the year round. In that you have to write down that who visited his garden and who spoke these words, hail or a snow or whatsoever, the frost, who said, that you have to write down. And why did it said that also you have to write down. How happy we were there. Who said that? Who were happy in the garden? There means garden. So who were happy? That you have to write down. Now fourth is, this is a delightful spot. We must ask the hail to visit us. Who said this? That you have to write down. Then climb up, little boy. Who said this word? This you can find out at the last of the chapter, that who helped him even to climb up. Who said him a little boy, that he has to climb up. Then at last, section C is yours. That is, answer these questions. Why did spring not come to the giant's garden? In the giant's garden, when he didn't allow the children in his garden, then spring didn't come in his garden. So what is the reason? That you have to write down. Second is, what did frost and snow do in the garden? What did they do in his garden? That you have to write down. Even you can write down what did they say to giant. Then third question is yours. What made the spring finally visit the garden? At last, spring visited his garden. Why? What made the spring? What happened that the spring came finally in his garden? That you have to write down. Fourth, how selfish I have been. From this statement, we know that the giant has realized his mistake, that he came to know that he was a selfish person. So what did his mistake? That you have to write down. And second question is, what made him realize his mistake? That when and what made him realize that he was a very selfish person? So that you have to write down. Now fifth question is yours, that how do we know that the giant sincerely felt sorry for his action? So at last, if if you read the chapter, then you can find out the answer that he felt sorry. So how do we know that? Of course, he helped the child, he helped the little boy in climbing up the tree and all. So that you have to write down. Now section D, at last, that is think and answer. You have to think and then you have to answer. You have to write down your in your own words. That first is there a moral in this story? If yes, what is it? I hope you can write down, as we have done story writing, and in there we had to write down the moral. So you have to write down moral in this. Can Is there any moral in this story? Of course, in every story there is a moral that you have to find out and write down. So you will write, yes, I think this dash is whatever. This is the moral of the story, and I have learned these things. In the story, second question is, in the story, the first letters of the names of seasons are natural phenomena like snow, frost, hail have been capitalized. Why? Why? What do you think? Why do you think this has been done? Because they were speaking. They were, so that you have to write down with your own. What do you think? Now the last question is, what do spring and winter symbolize in this story? You have to write down that spring and winter symbolizes symbolize what? According to me, they symbolize as a advisor or something. So what do you think? What made you think that? What? Who are they? What do they symbolize in the story? That you have to write down. I hope you will be able to do that. Now your next page, you can see the exercise punctuation. Now there are four sentences, so you have to write down in a correct way. This is called dialogue. You will learn in grammar dialogue writing. So this is what dialogue is. That first giant is speaking, that why are you in my garden? There should be a question mark. Then in inverted commas you have to write down if there is a statement, and you have to punctuate it in a better way. You have to write down it again with all full stops, question marks, exclamatory marks if there is any. So that you have to do it. Like last you can see the dialogue of children. So there you can see that the children, okay, then there should be a exclamatory sign. So that way you have to do it. I hope you will be able to do your work. Thank you and have a nice day.